Hello, my name is Navigator, and in today's video I want to present with you guys a little bit of fact and a possible theory about an NPC from Fallout 76. So recently, I was perusing Netflix and I saw a movie called The Vanishing that was about these three lighthouse keepers in Scotland or Ireland, I believe it was Scotland, that went missing, and that story is kind of a whole other thing. I actually didn't finish watching the movie, but what I learned while watching it is that lighthouse keepers in the late 19th century actually used mercury for the lighthouse process. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but the whole point I'm trying to make here is if you guys have ever heard the term mad as a hatter, the whole reason, or the origin behind that phrase is that people that used to make hats, hat merchants, I don't know, I guess hatters, they would use mercury in some fashion to create the hats. And the mercury fumes, when inhaled, can cause hallucinations and psychosis. So, that term mad as a hatter, usually comes from people that make hats, but the same thing used to happen to lighthouse keepers. Now, like I said earlier, let me explain this. So, mercury, you might be saying, how is mercury used in a lighthouse? And I asked myself the same question. It's actually pretty interesting. I originally thought that maybe mercury was used to make the light brighter or to power it or something like that. But lighthouse keepers actually used mercury to keep the lighthouse light spinning. Now, that might not make a lot of sense, but for some reason or another, liquid mercury is, I guess, pretty smooth, and they would almost have a little pool of it at the bottom of the lens for the lighthouse, and that way it would keep the light spinning for longer, and there would be, less time coming up here and having to adjust it if the lens got stuck while it was spinning, and you would have to crank the lens less. And what I mean by that is, in order to keep the lighthouse turning, as far as I know, they used to crank it in some fashion, kind of like one of those old radios you'd have to crank to keep it powered. So, they would use liquid mercury in the lighthouse, to keep this thing spinning. And this is the 19th century, keep in mind, so sometimes they didn't, really have, hazmat suits, radiation suits. In the movie I was watching, they did have suits that protected them against mercury, but I can assume that not every single lighthouse probably had the funds to get a suit like that, or multiple. So, lots of lighthouse keepers, in fact, had psychosis, and they had hallucinations after being exposed to these mercury fumes. So, that's that out of the way. Lighthouse keepers going crazy due to mercury. Today, I am at Landview Lighthouse, and also I wanted to say I'm joined today by Stretch. You'll hear from him in a little bit, but I just want to get that out of the way. I am here at Landview Lighthouse. This is the only lighthouse in the game. Now, before I get into this, you might be saying to yourself, why the fuck is there a lighthouse in the middle of the mountains? There's no ocean nearby, there's no rivers. I did a little bit of digging on this, and I don't know, I could know, but I didn't exactly take the time to read all of it, but the Landview Lighthouse was commissioned by Vault-Tec University. It was a project by some engineering students, so it doesn't really serve an exact purpose here in West Virginia, although the light still will guide you. It is more kind of a monument or just kind of a project for the students at Vault-Tec University to do. So, let me talk about Landview Lighthouse, though, and a specific person that has actually been living here or used to live here. If you guys come here often for the Path to Enlightenment event, you have to come up to the top of the lighthouse to deposit your bioluminescent fluid. And as you're coming up the stairs, you might notice this dead body right here. This is Brother Moncrief. Now, as far as I remember, Brother Moncrief is a Mothman cultist. And he has actually left this note here detailing some of his work to summon or do research on the Mothman. So let me read this really, really quick. Okay. High Priestess. Well, let me do this in a voice. High Priestess, I was right. The fireflies come here to mate. They go a little crazy, and I got hurt pretty bad, but I was able to gather enough goo to light the lamp. Now I just have to wait. The great Mothman will come. He has to. So that's Brother Moncrief, or I guess my best impression of him. He's not looking too good nowadays. But what we can infer. What can we infer? I mentioned that lighthouse keepers used to kind of go a little crazy, used to have psychosis, hallucinations due to the mercury. That's a fact. The other fact is, the Mothman is a real enemy in the game. It's not a hallucination. I mean, as far as I know, Navigator isn't taking any, hallucinogenic drugs in game, that is. So I'm totally, fine. I'm not hallucinating the Mothman. But what I'm thinking here is that possibly Brother Moncrief, on top of, possibly seeing the Mothman here, he might have actually been exposed to some mercury fumes. Now, I gotta say this. Not every rational person that sees the Mothman is gonna immediately convert and worship the Mothman. I mean, every single player in the game hasn't done that yet, but there still are Mothman cultists. So, are Mothman cultists more inclined to believe in him if they possibly have a screw loose upstairs, something like that? That's kind of the main piece of evidence I want to, well, I guess, compare to Brother Moncrief. So he is in this lighthouse. He died after the bombs dropped, but he did survive the bombs. So let's say that they were using mercury up here in the lighthouse and the bombs dropped. This place got shaken a little bit, and then after that there's nobody here to tend the lighthouse. Let's say a year or two after the bombs dropped, Brother Moncrief comes up here and he's like, oh, I'm going to do some research in here. I'm going to, find the Mothman. And he sets up shop right here just below the lighthouse. And let me show you guys. This is where they would keep the mercury, somewhere down in here. Now, this one kind of has, like a hollow bottom or whatever, but I can assume is that you would put the mercury somewhere in here, and his bed is directly below this. So even if that's not what is, causing him to hallucinate or be crazy or whatever, he could just go right up here and the fumes, he'll be exposed to those. So there's really nothing much else that I can say. I guess the main point that I'm trying to make here is that Brother Moncrief possibly went crazy or, was more inclined to believe in the Mothman because he was already experiencing hallucinations and psychosis due to the mercury fumes. Now, let me say this. This is probably very, very, very far-fetched. With almost 99% accuracy, can assume that Bethesda, this isn't the whole reason why Brother Moncrief believes in the Mothman. But there is not an explanation as to why he does. So I'm going to be here, making my theories and hypotheses, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, hippopotamuses, about Brother Moncrief. I don't know. I was watching this movie, and I kind of found this little factoid. I thought it was really, really cool, and I wanted to apply it to 76. And honestly, Brother Moncrief being there, it's not super far-fetched. If you really think about it, I know I just said it was far-fetched, but honestly, I don't really know where I'm going with this. But I just figured it was a nice little thing to share with you guys and kind of relate it to Fallout. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. I want to ask Stretch, though. He has a little bit of information about Landview Lighthouse, not related to what I'm talking about, but is definitely vital to the game. So, Stretch, you still here?
Yep.
Alright, so what did you want to tell the audience?
So, if you're ever low on copper, which I was in a massive struggle for like multiple hours one time, this place, there's statues at the bottom, and they are perfect. Like, they give a couple copper each, so if you're ever low, want to make some, fusion cells, here you go. Stop by.
So let's see. Take the Lighthouse Souvenir. I don't know if I'll be able to scroll over. Oh yeah, here we go. Lighthouse Souvenir, 2 copper. There you go, folks. Big copper vein here, and then that's 4 copper. So there you go. You guys can do math, and so can I. All right, Stretch, why don't you come over here, and we will end the video. Folks, a little bit of out of the ordinary today. I didn't really, super prepare for this or anything, but, it's my channel. I can make whatever the fuck I want to, and, yeah, there we go. So, folks, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments below. If you didn't, also let me know. I'm always open to feedback. My name is Navigator. The guy next to me, I always forget. What's your name again?
Stretch.
There we go. My name is Navigator. His name is Stretch. Have a nice day. Take care.